In the last episode, I walked you through what it actually feels like to read your website as a $10,000 buyer. We went through what they're thinking, where the disconnect is, and why they leave. And so if you listened to that episode and you thought, okay, I see it, but what am I actually supposed to do differently? That's what this episode is for. Welcome to Seven Figure Copy, the show where we refine your messaging so it reflects the level you're now operating at with clarity and confidence. I'm Gina Whitehouse, your expert conversion copywriter, and this podcast is for established, expert-led female business owners who know their work is exceptional but suspect their website and sales copy may be underselling the caliber of what they deliver. In each episode, we'll explore how strategic, ethical copy elevates your website, sales pages, and core messaging so your words communicate trust before someone ever books a consult or starts a conversation with you. If you're ready for a trusted partner who helps you clearly articulate what you do and why it matters, then you're in the right place. Hello, my name is Gina Whitehouse, and I'm the host of the Seven Figure Copy podcast. I'm your expert conversion copywriter and messaging strategist. I'm so glad that you are here today for part 2. So I told you that we walked through in the last episode what it feels like to read your website copy as a $10,000 premium buyer. Okay, so today we're going to talk about what we should be doing differently, okay? So you might be in the place where you've been tweaking your copy and you're thinking, how can I make this sound better? Like, how can I make it sound more polished, professional, or impressive? Well, I'm going to tell you what the problem with that is today, okay? You may think and have in your mind that high-end copy that attracts premium buyers needs to sound so polished like a research paper, okay? You may think it needs to be formal or very put together. But that's not the truth. I want to bust that myth right now. What actually matters is how your offer is positioned through the copy that's written that's on your page. Second thing that's important is how clearly your target audience, those people that you want to buy from you, actually see themselves in the copy. So let me show you what I mean, but you can actually see it. So let me tell you what I actually mean. There's a lot of copy out there that looks good, okay? It has a lot of words. It has some very strong statements, maybe some strong opinions, and it makes big promises. But when you actually read it, you still don't know what you're getting, if that's the right solution for you, and what makes it different. So this is one of the biggest gaps I see when people come to me, especially for copy audits of their sales pages and their website, okay? What they have might sound impressive, but it doesn't actually clearly illustrate to the person that they want to buy from them what they're getting and how it's going to benefit them. So when you're going back and you're tweaking your copy because maybe it's not converting the way you want it to, so you go in and I actually had a conversation with someone about this over this last week about the constant tweaking loop, right? You're not making the sales you want, so you start tweaking, you start changing the words, you start changing the messaging around, and you just constantly find yourself in this loop where you're just never confident if it's right, okay? So while you're doing that, you might be asking yourself, like, does this sound good? Just that simple question. Does this sound good? What I want you to ask instead is, does this make someone feel confident enough to say yes, right? Because those are two very different things. So I can't go further without talking about vague copy. And I know I've talked about this a lot, but I think it warrants talking about it again, just briefly, okay? A lot of times what I see on a website, and this is what I'm like, when I go right directly to a website's URL and I see that, what I call the above the fold section, I see some kind of headline that's very, very vague. And the example I always like to use is the one where the headline says, "Live your best life now." Wow, that sounds great, but it could go on any website, okay? It doesn't really mean anything. So let's compare it to something else, because you can literally put the "live your best life now." You can put it on a website for a financial planner. You can put it on a website for a fitness professional. You can put it on a website for a wellness practitioner or a certain type of product, right? But let's compare it to something that's more expanded and more specific. Let's say you land on that website and it says, "Get in the best shape of your life without giving up the foods you love or spending hours in the gym." That's definitely more specific, right? Because now we're starting to see who it's for, what the outcome is and what makes it different than other fitness programs, let's say. What I want you to know is that specificity is what makes your copy feel real to that premium buyer. It's what makes someone stop and think, this is exactly what I've been dealing with, or this is exactly what I've been looking for. This is exactly what my struggle is. If you've ever thought, my business has evolved, but my website still feels pieced together, or my expertise is strong, but my messaging doesn't reflect the level I operate at, I want you to know right now that you're not alone. Every established business owner reaches this point where your growth just outpaces your message. And when your message doesn't match the offer or the service you provide now, it costs you credibility, clarity, and premium opportunities. So I'm here today to tell you that I want to help you go from second guessing how you're presenting your offers and expertise to showing up online with messaging that feels cohesive and aligned with the caliber of your work. Today, I'm inviting you to book a 30-minute complimentary copy chat with me to determine whether you need a strategic copy audit or high converting done for you copy that finally reflects the level you're operating at. Go to the show notes today to book your call or visit www.whitehousesm.com. So again, how do we find that out? It's by going back and researching and gathering that language that you're going to speak back to them on the page. Another big misconception that I want to hit on today about the premium buyer and what they're looking for is that longer copy doesn't necessarily convert better. Okay. So people sometimes add more sections or they add more details or more explanation that's more explanation that's really needed. Okay. What matters more than that is the structure. And let me explain a little bit what I mean by that. When your copy is working, it's because your ideal client or customer is being taken on a journey. So it's just not random words slapped randomly on a sales page or a homepage, okay? No, the structure is showing you, 1, here's what you're dealing with. 2, here's why it hasn't worked yet. 3, here's actually what you need. And 4, how this is going to solve the problem you have. So as the person is reading down that page, it's going to answer questions that haven't been answered yet or questions that they are thinking. It's going to address hesitations, and you want to address those before it starts to turn into doubt. Okay. So by the time that they get to the end, they're not confused. We want them to be ready to buy. Something I see people focus on a lot is brand voice. Now, I'm not here to diss on brand voice. It's important, but you may be thinking to yourself as you're trying to write your copy, you might be thinking, how do I make this sound more like me? That matters in a way, but what matters more is, does the buyer really hear themselves in the words that you are saying? So it's almost like you're trying to do a little dance here, okay? You're wanting it to sound like you, but you want to use the language and phrasing that they are using, okay? You want someone to look down that page and you want them to think, this is me. You don't necessarily want them to think, oh, this is you. They may hear it in your voice, but you want them to think, okay, this is me. These are my struggles. This is exactly what I need. Okay. So it's going to reflect their thoughts, their frustrations, and their exact situation that they're in. And again, that only comes from deep research. So as I end here, I want to just say this clearly and make sure you really get this. Okay. High level buyers, they're not looking for more information. They're not looking for hype. Okay, they're not looking for hype and they're not looking for more convincing. Okay, what they're looking for is clarity. They want to confidently know that they're making the right decision and they want a clear path to the result that they need. So they need to understand, what is this, why it works, and if it's right for them without having to dig through the page for it. So as you step back and look at all of this, I want to remind you that this isn't about sounding impressive, or it's not even about sounding polished, okay? It's about making your copy make the decision easier for them. And it goes back to what I just said, clarity, okay? It has to be clear. See, because if your copy isn't converting, it's usually, I swear, this is what it comes down to almost every time, is that it's just not clear enough, and it's not speaking the buyer's language. Now, this is why I did the last episode. Okay, this is why I walked through how this premium buyer is looking through your website and what they are experiencing. Okay. It's important to see it in that way because most people, they're just going to leave your webpage and they're not going to tell you and they just leave. Okay. So that last episode, the goal here was to kind of step into that role of the premium buyer and just tell you what I'm looking for as I'm walking down that page. What does it look like for me? What am I thinking in my mind? So as we end, I want you to ask yourself, not how do I make this sound better? But I want you to ask, does this help the right person see themselves in this and feel confident moving forward to purchase my offer? Sometimes what happens as you look through your copy is you realize it's not updated to where I am right now. Businesses evolve, your services may have changed. I was actually on my website yesterday making some changes. You know, it's like you change one thing and then it has to be changed in a million different places. And I found some other places that it didn't catch up, right? With pricing and different offers that I offered a year ago that I'm not offering now. So with that said, what that means is sometimes that your copy and messaging isn't matching the caliber of what you do right now. And if you feel like you may be in that place, the first place to start is by downloading my copy caliber checklist. Okay, so you can get in the notes, show notes. You can get it by going to my website, and it's www.whitehousesm.com/caliber. You're going to download this checklist and you're going to go through, I think there's 8 things, maybe a bonus 9th thing. And you're going to go and you're going to look at it and you're going to ask yourself, as you go through those 8 things, does my copy match the caliber of where I am today? Why? Because that's going to affect you attracting the caliber of client and customer that you want to work with. So go ahead and grab it. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have questions, just reach out to me. You can email me, go to my website, send me a message through there, find me on social media. I am always open to answering any questions you have. Have a great week and we'll talk again soon. Thank you so much for spending time with me today on this episode of 7-Figure Copy. If this conversation resonated and you know that your messaging, that your copy is not matching the caliber of the wonderful work that you do, then please reach out to me at whitehousesm.com to book a 30-minute complimentary copy chat. Let's see if we're the right fit for each other and if I'm the right conversion copywriter for you. And I'll see you next time.
This podcast is produced, mixed, and edited by Cardinal Studio. For more information about how to start your own podcast, please visit www.cardinalstudio.co or email Mike at mike@cardinalstudio.co. You can also find the details in the show notes.